scribing society's irony in my diary, my arena to quietly diagnose all the lows and the highs I see. Soldiers who fight for peace, cultures are dying, eyeing the Ivory Coast in hopes of the riot ceasing. Drones in the sky are seeking the roads for defiance and treason. The violence is peaking. I'm told to throw in my allegiance and fold for the fire breathers and vultures to pry us clean. Most of us buying sneakers, not homes that require visas. Coasting a prior sequence of broken environments, postmodern no father nature draped in tire prints. My entrance into the time of tyrants was taxed heavy. Brought to you by the makers of brown slaves and black Chevys. Act steady, get your facts ready for the discourse. Back then, the only way to make it was to distort. Back then, the only way to make it was to miss more. Now we wonder why they buying islands and we piss poor. The historical context is complex, from bomb threats to non-vets as time stretches. Laws just keep the boss's arms flexed. We all crutches to keep elites making progress through our budgets. As much as I would like to be an optimist, the problem is the politicians' preposterousness. Kiss this planet goodbye, panic, you die. If you don't, you see in life through a mannequin's eyes. They take advantage while you stand and comply. Canon provides a solution. We need minds of the youth. You losing brothers, sisters, and your minds. How you find an excuse? I got my third eye tied in a noose of lies and abuse. I'm tired and silent inside till I'm a recluse. The devil's smiling while I'm shining his shoes and abide by the rules. His greatest trick is how he's hiding in view. Maybe they could pay attention if I switch it up and sound familiar to them. Throw some bass in 808 and make a statement that'll sound a little cooler. I don't care about the recognition. I just want to show them how the mechanism keep the record spinning to induce confusion. You live life in a huge illusion. Better wake up for the rules get fused with. Your mind, either use or lose it. Who would have knew this? What lies and trueness? You list all your inhibitions in your poetry. Listen and you'll know it's me. Never waste a flow because they don't grow on trees but go on trees. And in the trees, I see the sky and the sun and the clouds, rain, water, and Father Time turns the soil into roots, and it functions in a life which is taken for this page and encompassed in this rhyme. And the air in my voice is hoisted by the fire in my soul, and it grows till I'm older, and it smolders when I die. Emotions just like oceans in a tide. It's a flow that never halts, but an open-ended ride. So who am I?
Hello, and welcome to our end of quarter multi-faith celebration hosted at University Public Worship. We are so glad you've chosen to join us today. We begin our gathering today with the powerful words of Karan Cross, one of the co-presidents of the Buddhist community at Stanford this year, as a frame for our celebration today. Karan reminds us of the importance of truth-telling in spaces like these, acknowledging the complexity of our shared life lived together as we cultivate the vital practice of articulating gratitude in the midst of it all. Throughout our time together today, we will be guided in reflection and practice of gratitude, guided by several of our student groups, including the Buddhist community at Stanford, or BCAS, the Catholic community at Stanford, Chi Alpha Christian Fellowship, the Hindu Student Association, and Stanford Zen, as well as music by Ragapella and Dr. Robert Hugh Morgan, a meta practice led by BCAS co-president Elaine Lai, reading by community member Richard Duncan, preaching by our senior associate dean, Rabbi Patricia Carlin Newman, and leadership from our dean, Tiffany Steinwert. We are so glad you are all with us today as we journey together today in the midst of it all. As we continue, we will be invited into the practice of cultivating gratitude through a variety of lenses and traditions. And you will have an opportunity at the end of our time together to articulate your own places of gratitude today from the particularity of your own location. It is our hope that this space will be expansive and meaningful for you as you anticipate a measure of rest at the end of a long quarter. We will continue right now with an offering from the Hindu Student Association at Stanford in the form of lamp lighting. Lighting the lamp at the beginning of any auspicious occasion is an age-old Hindu tradition. Today, our lamp lighting comes from a recent celebration of Diwali, portions of which were filmed in accordance with all state, county, and university guidelines in Memorial Church. In the Hindu tradition, the light is a symbol of knowledge and positivity. On the other hand, darkness is symbolic of ignorance and negativity. Thus, lighting the lamp signifies driving away the lower energies and bringing the higher energies in. In a lamp, the oil represents our negative tendencies and the wick represents our false ego. When lit by the flame, which is symbolic of spiritual knowledge, the negative tendencies are gradually exhausted and the ego slowly perishes. The flame in a lamp always burns upwards and motivates us to acquire knowledge, which takes us to higher ideals. Also, a single lit lamp has the power to light many more. This image gives us the inspiration to share our knowledge with others. And so, led by the Hindu Student Association, let us be together in a spirit of gratitude as we light the lamp.
This morning, as we come together, we are going to welcome together into this space gratitude, peace, and belonging. Join me in welcoming. As we gather across time and space, in front of computer screens and phones, we take time to be grateful at the end of an unusual quarter, grateful for the opportunity to connect, to support, and to be supported. Welcome, gratitude. As we gather, we acknowledge the many ways we are busy, anxious, and fearful in our innermost being. We name this reality and seek to let go in a spirit of peace. Welcome, peace. As we gather, we confess that we often doubt our belovedness and our worth. This season of pandemic has been often isolating and disorienting. We seek belonging and connection in this place. Welcome, belonging. You are welcome here. You are loved and accepted in this place just as you are. We are grateful for your presence and contribution to the larger community here at Stanford. We all are welcome here, called to meet this moment with courage and gratitude.
As we continue today, we welcome one of our student leaders from the Buddhist community at Stanford, Elaine Lai. She serves as co-president of the Buddhist community at Stanford, BCAS, as well as one of our Meeting the Moment fellows. Elaine has come today to lead us in a metta practice. And so I'd like to invite Elaine to lead us in this practice today.
Thank you so much, Colleen. For those of you who are in the Zoom room with us, I invite you in this practice to turn on your videos if you're comfortable with it, because we're going to try to use that in our metta practice. Metta meaning sending of love, kindness, and care outwards. And so I invite you right now to turn on your video, and if you can, go up to the top right corner of view and put your view on gallery view for the moment. So I'll give you one moment to do that. For those of you who'd rather stay without video, that's fine as well. So in this first part, I invite you to just close your eyes for a moment, and we're going to go through a sequence of calling different people to mind and sending them our love and our care and kindness. And in this first moment, just take a few breaths in your seat and notice how you're feeling in this moment in your body. And I invite you to call to mind a benefactor in your life, someone with whom you have an uncomplicated relationship. It could be a mentor, a teacher from your past, a spiritual teacher. It could be a good friend, maybe even an animal companion who's benefited you in many, many ways. Someone for whom it's very easy to feel that warmth and love towards. And seeing that person or that animal right before you, doesn't matter if you see them clearly in your mind, just acknowledge that their presence is right in front of you right now. And offer them your best wishes in whatever words feel natural to you. So in the Buddhist tradition, we often say, may you be at peace. May you be free from harm. May you be protected in your path. And may you find the true causes of happiness. And offer any other phrases that feel natural for you in this moment to offer that mentor, that benefactor, that animal companion. Maybe even imagine that wherever they are in the world, they've really received this wish. They're thinking of you right in this moment. And as you exhale, gently release that image of that benefactor. And now I invite you, for those of you in the Zoom room, to open your eyes, and we'll move on to the next person. I invite you to pick someone in this room who you see on screen, and you don't know them. So for those who are not in the Zoom room, pick a neutral person, maybe someone's face who's coming up to mind. Don't think too much about it. And for those of you in the Zoom room, I invite you to also don't think too much about it. Whoever you see, place your mouse cursor over the right top part of their little box where they're the 3 dots and pin their video so that you're actually looking at them. So I'll give you one moment to do that. And now with the eyes open, and knowing that this is a gift you're giving someone now and they have no idea who you are even, take a moment to really look at the person or the people that you've chosen if there are 2 people on a screen. And take a moment to acknowledge their life, that wherever they are in this moment, they have enjoyed many joys and also sorrows. They've had their own journey in life. Maybe you might never even really see this person or these people again. But in this moment, direct your attention to them and send them using your own words, your best wishes. May you, too, be free from harm. May you be safe and free from suffering. May you find true happiness in this life. May you be well in your journey. May you be loved and cared for. And sending any other wishes you would like. Take another moment, just embrace that person's existence, those people's existence that you're looking at on screen. And then gently release that image, and you can release it either by returning to gallery view and looking at everyone else. And finally, closing your eyes again. Take a moment to feel how you're feeling in this moment. You too are someone with your own journey, with your own sorrows and joys, uncertainties. Take a moment to send yourself those same wishes you've sent to your benefactor and someone you don't know. May I be well. May I be protected from harm. May I find true happiness. May I know and feel that I am always loved and cared for. And if this feels difficult to send yourself good wishes, don't worry about that. Just sit with that feeling too. In this last moment, as you inhale and exhale, imagine that you're breathing in love and compassion, even in the form of light or just the feeling. And as you exhale, send that love and compassion outwards. Let it spread through all directions, all space. And just take 3 more inhales and exhales like that. Inhaling love and compassion There are no bounds to that, even when our breath stops. And exhaling, sending it out, imagining it permeating every part of space. And inhaling, exhaling it out. The more that you give, the more that you have as well. And one last time, inhale and exhale. And if your eyes were closed, I invite you to open them to enjoy the rest of the program. And thank you all for your practice today.
Our first reading today comes from the Torah, Deuteronomy chapter 8, verses 7 through 18. For your God is bringing you into a good land, a land with streams and springs and fountains issuing from plain and hill, a land of wheat and barley, of vines, figs, and pomegranates, a land of live trees and honey, a land where you may eat food without stint, where you will lack nothing, a land whose rocks are iron and from whose hills you can mine copper. When you have eaten your fill, give thanks to your God for the good land given to you. Take care lest you forget your God and fail to keep the divine commandments, rules, and laws which I enjoin upon you today. When you have eaten your fill and have built fine houses to live in, and your herds and flocks have multiplied, and your silver and gold have increased, and everything you own has prospered, beware lest your heart grow haughty and you forget your God who freed you from the land of Egypt, the house of bondage, who led you through the great and terrible wilderness with its seraph serpents and scorpions, a parched land with no water in it, who brought forth water for you from the flinty rock, who fed you in the wilderness with manna, which your ancestors had never known, in order to test you by hardship, only to benefit you in the end. And you say to yourself, my own power and the might of my own hand have won this wealth for me. Remember, it is your God who gives you the power to get wealth in fulfillment of the covenant made on oath with your fathers, as is still the case.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram. यहाँ वहाँ सारा जहां देख लिया है, कहीं भी तेरे जैसा कोई नहीं है। 80 नहीं 100 दिन दुनिया घुमा मैं, नहीं कहीं तेरे जैसा कोई नहीं है। मैं गया जहां में बस तेरी याद थी, जो मेरे साथ थी, मुझको तड़पाती रुलाती, सबसे प्यारी तेरी सूरत, प्यार है बस तेरा प्यार ही मौजूद से ही मैं आ रहा हूँ अपनी बाहें खोल दे जोर से मुझको गले लगा ले मुझको फिर वो प्यार दे तू ही जिंदगी है तू ही मेरी मोहब्बत है तेरे ही पैरों में जन्नत है तू ही तुझा तुझे सलाम तुझे सलाम तुझे सलाम तुझे सलाम वंदे मातरम 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 वंदे मातरम
Our second reading today also comes from the Torah, Genesis chapters 32 and 33 selected verses, and it tells the story of two brothers with a complicated relationship. Now Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the rise of dawn. When the man saw that he could not overcome him, he struck Jacob's hip socket, so that Jacob's hip socket was wrenched as the man wrestled with him. And then the man said, "Let me go, dawn is breaking." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." The other said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." "No more shall you be called Jacob, but Israel," said the other, "for you have struggled with God and with human beings, and you have prevailed." Then Jacob asked, "Pray tell me now your name." But the man said, "Why do you ask my name?" And then he took leave of him. Jacob therefore named that place Peniel, which means, "For I have seen God face to face, yet my life has been spared." When Jacob was looking into the distance, he beheld his brother Esau coming with his 400 men. So Jacob divided his children among Leah, Rachel, and the two maids. When Esau approached, he said, "What? Is this camp that I came across all of yours?" And Jacob replied, "Yes, it is meant to find favor in your sight, my lord." Esau said, "I have an abundance, my brother. Let what is yours be yours." Jacob said, "No, please, if I have truly found favor in your sight, take this offering from my hand, for to see your face is like seeing the face of God. And you have already shown me favor. Please accept my gift of blessing that has been presented to you. God has been gracious to me, and I have all that I need." Jacob kept pressing him until Esau accepted. Then Esau said, "Let us start on our way. I will go at your side." But Jacob answered, "My Lord knows that children are delicate, and I have to think about my sheep and cattle who are nursing. If I drive them even a single day hard, this small cattle will perish. Let my Lord go on ahead of his servant. As for myself, let me proceed on my way at my own pace, following the footsteps of the livestock in front of me and following the footsteps of the children until I catch up to my Lord near Seir." Esau said, "Pray let me then leave behind with you a portion of the force that accompanies me." But Jacob said to him, "What should my Lord show me such favor?" So that day Esau started back on his way towards Seir, while Jacob went on to Sukkot, where he built a house for himself and shelters for his livestock. That is why they call the place Sukkot. Thus Jacob, in his journey from Paddan Aram, arrived safely in the city of Shechem in the land of Canaan, and he made camp facing the city.
Good afternoon. This is a complicated time for gratitude. I think I'm not alone in that even as we can tally the blessings that are ours, shot through them are also disappointments. I spent several days this week with far-flung colleagues, treasuring their wisdom, collegiality, and dedication, but not without plenty of reminders that this was the second time in 9 months that we canceled our in-person gathering. We joked about sharing Milano cookies and meeting at a beautiful Newark airport hotel, but underneath our humor was sadness that the coming together that sustains us could not take place. More searing are our decisions about how to balance being with beloved family this Thanksgiving, with protecting ourselves and those same loved ones from a virus that seems hungry, ubiquitous, and capricious. Balancing gratitude with disappointment, desire with restraint, seems these days to be a constant struggle. How do we find equilibrium riding on that teeter-totter, even as we anticipate a holiday that heralds gratitude? In the Jacob story, which Reverend Halligan Preniger just read, there's a line that captures the attention of the rabbis. And Jacob came in peace to the city of Shechem. Now we know that Jacob's life was scarcely untroubled. Jacob bought his brother Esau's birthright. He deceived his father Isaac to obtain the blessing intended for his brother. He fled home to avoid Esau's wrath and retribution. He worked 7 years for his cunning uncle Lavan, for the woman of his dreams, only to be on the receiving end of another family deception when he discovered it was Leah, not his cherished Rachel, that he had married. He then worked another 7 years for Rachel. He navigated a fierce rivalry between the sisters, the undesired Leah, who nevertheless provided him with prolific progeny, versus the beloved but barren Rachel. He ran away from the suspicious and intransigent Lavan, having shepherded a fortune and flock under his uncle's nose. And then after all that trouble, he anticipates and he fears seeing his brother Esau. It had been years since Jacob had fled an entire adult life. The night before they meet, Jacob wrestles. The text is deliciously ambiguous. Is he struggling with an angel, with God, with his brother, with his conscience, with his history? And after all that history, after his midnight struggle, after he and his brother Esau finally encounter each other, we read, and Jacob came in peace to the city of Shechem. We might have expected, and Jacob came exhausted to the city of Shechem, or, and Jacob came relieved to the city of Shechem. Or perhaps, and Jacob came victorious to the city of Shechem. Instead, we get, and Jacob came in peace to the city of Shechem. Vayavo Yaakov Shalem ir Shechem. Why in peace? The Hebrew word here is shalem. We know the root of shalem from the more familiar shalom, meaning peace, well-being, or completeness. After all that he lived through, Jacob came complete. The Babylonian sage Rav asks, what were the ingredients of Jacob's completeness? The answer, Jacob was complete in 3 matters, begufo, b'mamano, b'torato. Jacob was complete in his body, bigufo. He was complete in his fortune, b'mamano, and he was complete in his spiritual teaching, b'torato. In this interpretation, a complete person is one with a healthy body, sufficient material support, and a life lived consonant with the sacred. These days, we are all too conscious of the role a healthy body plays in our well-being. If we are exposed to COVID, but fortunate enough to live without pre-existing conditions or a weak constitution, we may contract a milder case. If we are young and healthy, we may remain so, but can easily infect others. And if we've been ill or disabled, we may be extra cautious, even as what constitutes health may be relative. Years ago, a friend who had spent months in and out of the hospital joined us for Thanksgiving dinner. When we went around the table for the ritual of sharing our blessings, he, still weak and recovering, was the only person who expressed gratitude for the blessing of health. These days, none of us take a healthy body for granted. Sadly, it's not uncommon for patients who looked fine a few hours earlier to suddenly decline and pass away. The healthcare workers in a Fargo, North Dakota hospital reflected on how much that knocks the wind out of them. But whenever they do get to discharge a patient to go home, they play "Here Comes the Sun." They said it brings a smile to the faces of the patients and providers alike. The heroic efforts of medical staff throughout the country to harness all that they have, whether therapeutic tools or human compassion, to care for their neighbors, is in service to helping all of our bodies to be whole. Material comfort, b'ma'amano, is also a crucial component of completeness. This Thanksgiving, when so many have lost livelihoods in the past year due to the pandemic, we recognize how much financial ease adds to our well-being, to our wholeness. It enables some of us to remain safe at home when those not as fortunate may be risking their lives for our groceries or our medical care. There are far too many in our communities who worry about paying rent, about losing a home, about being evicted from a place of safety. The need to have a roof over our head and enough to eat as we enter winter is an incalculable yet very present component of being complete. Yet, as Deuteronomy reminds us, this is also a time to right-size wealth. The virus doesn't discriminate based on the extra zeros in our bank account. For those who thought chasing a fortune crowded out all other goals, the pandemic has prompted a reordering of our lives, and for many of us, our values. Michael Gardner grew up without a dad and prioritized being present for his daughter. He taught himself to sew, and he creates outfits for her and sometimes matching clothes for himself. Through Instagram and his fashion blog, Daddy Dressed Me by MG, he encourages bonding between dads and daughters through fashion. When COVID cost him his job in the hospitality industry, he turned to his sewing machine. His 9-year-old daughter, Ava, wanted to sew too, so he taught her how to sew masks on her own pink machine and proudly watched as she graduated to making skirts. Even though he no longer draws a salary, Daddy Dressed Me remains a labor of love. Michael Gardner doesn't sell his designs. When the Today Show Craig Mervin asked Ava what is special about her dad, she was quick to reply, his sewing, his smile, his care, his love. Melvin then noted that Michael also does her hair and nails, He exclaimed, "You've got to live in fashion designer, hairstylist, and nail stylist." And with a big smile herself, Ava nodded and responded, "I feel rich." The Talmud asks, "Who is rich?" and answers, "One who is happy with her portion." For those who have enough to eat, a safe and loving home, and relative health, the third component of Jacob's completeness, spiritual well-being, may still remain elusive. From questions about justice in our fraught times to difficulty gathering for prayer, spiritual and emotional well-being have eluded many of us. Missing our friends, being distant from family members who are ill, delaying or forfeiting rituals of both celebration and of sorrow make it hard to feel spiritually whole. And yet to know that we are connected to each other, even through screens, provides a haven in a difficult time. For many of us, spiritual well-being can be sought in our sacred texts and traditions. So in this moment of satisfaction and struggle, can Jacob's story teach us how we can be shalem? After Jacob's first famous night on the road, dreaming of angels ascending and descending the ladder to heaven, Jacob readily understands what he needs on the journey. He asks God to provide him with lechem le'achol uveged li'lvosh, with bread to eat and clothes to wear. In his uncle's home, it is no longer only bread he eats or only functional clothes he wears. Jacob has become a wealthy man. But we know from his second famous night on the road, the night of his struggle with the angel or man or his conscience or the patron of his brother, that by now Jacob wants something more. For when his opponent says, "Let me go, for dawn is breaking," Jacob answers, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." What kind of blessing is he asking for? Remember that Jacob left home with his father's blessing, but that blessing he obtained by deceit. Jacob now seeks a blessing achieved by his life, by his values. He desires a blessing which confirms that through all his troubles, he has gained wisdom. He has won divine favor. And Jacob receives this blessing, along with a new name, Yisrael, one who struggles with God. And paradoxically, Jacob entered the wrestling match with wholeness of body, but by the end, that very wholeness eludes him. He leaves limping, but blessed. For just a few verses later, we are told Jacob came complete to the city of Shechem. Complete in three matters: his body, his wealth, his spiritual well-being. The completeness in Jacob's body is not perfection. Rather, Jacob incorporates into his being the experience of struggle. Similarly, the completeness in his spiritual life is not born of having been a diligent student with a charmed life, but rather having learned much through a life of conflict and struggle. And the completeness of his wealth is not its accumulation, but rather it follows Jacob's determination to give much of it away. So what does this story and its interpretation teach us about gratitude? Wholeness, completeness, is accepting our struggles and learning from them. Wholeness and completeness is found in sharing what we have with others, reconciling with what one most fears, pursuing a life of purpose, embodying and teaching the lessons learned through struggle. This is what is worth being grateful for. Our Thanksgiving this year will be different. Perhaps like yours, mine will have a computer at the center of the table rather than energetic kids and grandkids in the chairs. We will share our blessings, even as we will acknowledge our struggles. We will merge traditional American food with traditional Jewish blessings. We will begin with thanks and end with prayer. Our Deuteronomy text describes a fertile and verdant land and the hope for justice, a land of olives, oil, and honey, a land in which you will never eat bread in poverty. You will never lack for anything. This is the image of a land that is shalem, a land complete, whole, peaceful. Embedded in the description is the command, when you have eaten your fill, give thanks to God for the good land God has given to you. These three words in Hebrew, va'achalta, v'savata, uvarachta, taken literally mean, you shall eat, you shall be satisfied, and you shall bless. They form the basis for the blessing after eating, the blessing after being sated. As in many traditions, Jews say grace before eating, but the blessing following eating teaches us that it is easy to be grateful in anticipation of enjoyment. It is harder to remember to count our blessings once we have been satisfied. Especially this year, when we dare not take our blessings for granted, we are reminded that the sustenance we have received is to strengthen us to do God's work in the world, to find spiritual wholeness, to live a life that is satisfying and complete, even as it may be not without struggle. This year, as we balance satisfaction and struggle, we nevertheless turn our faces toward hope. The hope that neighbors and citizens will wear masks to protect one another. The promise of an effective, widely available, and justly distributed vaccine. The potential for a destructive and polarized political season to subside. The recognition that a time for racial reckoning is upon us. The proximity to turning the page to a new year. This year, as we balance satisfaction and struggle, may we appreciate the struggles in our own lives and find satisfaction to continue to live a life of shleimut, a life of wholeness, a life of completeness, a life of well-being. I wish you all a healthy, safe, and happy Thanksgiving. Amen.
We gather from many different places, here across video screens, around tables, some watching live now and others watching at another time on our YouTube stream. We'd like to invite you to gather in a moment of gratitude. It will be led at the beginning by a series of videos offering gratitudes and blessings from members of our Stanford associated religions. And following the video, we will have a time of sharing among ourselves, again on Zoom and chat, and across all the many ways that we are listening today, whether it is radio or YouTube or live on Zoom. So come, let us listen for the blessings in the midst of struggle.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elaine, one of the co-presidents of the Buddhist community at Stanford, also known as BCAS. I am really grateful for community, both the community of BCAS and all the friends I have in BCAS, and also ORSL for your support this year. Thank you so much, Colleen. Thank you to all of our old friends and new friends for sharing so many moments of joy and also sharing moments of having difficult conversations and growing together. And I'm going to pass it on to Karan.
Thanks, Elaine. My name's Karan. I'm the other co-president of BCAS. And one thing I'm grateful for this quarter was the Radical Dharma reading group that we took part in collaboration with ORSL. I felt like the group that we had was really supportive, and it felt like a family. So every week it was revitalizing to my spirits, just having those conversations. Even when they were difficult, I felt like we all grew a lot from them. So I'm thankful for that opportunity and the people in that group. So yeah, and I'll pass it along to my good friend Julian.
Thank you, Karan. My name is Julian Butterfield. I'm the financial officer of the Buddhist community at Stanford. And one thing that I'm grateful for is having the opportunity through that community to really explore and deepen my own practice of Buddhist meditation with a group of supportive and kind and helpful friends.
Hello, this is Dominic with the Catholic community at Stanford. I am so grateful today to be able to brag about one of our many wonderful students through a letter of recommendation.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Nee, and I'm a part of Stanford Zen Society. Today, I am grateful for the original mind, the original awakened Buddha mind, and the generations of enlightened Zen masters and ancestors who transmit the techniques down to us in the practice so that we too can also abide in this original awakened mind. Thank you.
My name is Glenn Davis. I'm the pastor of Chi Alpha Christian Fellowship here at Stanford University, and I'm grateful that this pandemic is not worse. I think about the Black Death. Half of Europe died. We're dealing with far lower mortality rates, and we're doing that in a time of great abundance where we've got excellent medical care, and there is such an ample supply of food that we're able to navigate this pandemic so much better than previous generations. And so I'm grateful to God for the blessings that we are inheriting even in this season of challenge.
Now it's our turn. We turn to one another and ask, what are we grateful for today? For what are we grateful as we reflect on the quarter that we just finished, whether we are students and we have just made it to week 10, or we're faculty and we have just made it to week 10, whether we're staff who accompany our community in all sorts of different ways, whether we're alumni or community members or friends of Memorial Church. What is the balance for you this day between satisfaction and struggle? What are the blessings that you name while acknowledging the hard and challenging parts of your life? We invite you to do that. For those of you who are on Zoom, to go ahead and put it in the chat and I will voice it for you. For those of you who are watching at home, perhaps you are watching with others in your household, and so you might turn to one another and offer them a word of gratitude. What are the ways in which you are grateful for your health, the resources of what makes a good life, or for spiritual wellness? Where are the places that you have found of goodness, even in really difficult and, shall we say, unprecedented times? So come, let us name these things. You can name them aloud or write them down or journal or draw them. However, if you are in Zoom, please go ahead and lift those up for us together. Let us be grateful in the presence of one another. Such gratitude for our students, for Elaine and Karan and Julian, for their leadership and friendship over the reading and group this year. For Colleen, for colleagues, for communities of support that provide a sense of belonging and meaningful engagement. For challenges and the strength to meet them. For this welcoming community. For being able to talk to someone on the phone even while we're apart. for our Stanford Associated Religions student leaders, for their advisor, for their tireless work to create community this quarter. So friends, let us give thanks to God this day and all days for those blessings that we have spoken aloud and those that we have kept in the silence of our heart. Knowing that life is this delicate balance between satisfaction and struggle, between places of laughter and support and simple things like eating a delicious cookie or taking a walk, and the really hard places that this year has brought us in our global community and in our own personal lives. May all of these blessings that we have named aloud offer us the strength to do what God is calling us to each and every day, to share with others and to craft lives of meaning and purpose, that we might be a blessing to others. I'd like to now invite Rabbi Patricia Carlin Newman to offer us a closing blessing this day.
As we take our winter break, uncertain of the future, may we be reminded of the joy of knowledge and the pleasure of wonder. Thank you, God, for spare beauty, for the bare branch, the black furrow, skim ice, and bird flight. Thank you for the stripping away that reveals far horizons. Thank you for distance that conjures wider mystery. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May the Holy One bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichoneka. May God's countenance shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God lift up the divine countenance and grant us, as we go into this winter, health, safety, the lifting of our spirits, clarity, justice, and peace. Amen.